Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic week. Well, a survey was recently done for cruise ship employees and they were asked on this survey, one of the things is, what are the most annoying things that passengers do? And you know what? I agree with a lot of them. One of the first things they mentioned was passengers who don't pay attention to what time they're supposed to be back on the ship. That's right, they leave the ship, they walk around on town and they port, and the next thing they know, they're hearing the horn off in the distance of the cruise ship getting ready to leave, and they run, and this causes all kinds of delays. First of all, they have to wait before they can start loading up the ship. They're double checking to make sure every passenger's there. Even if you're just wandering around the town, you're not on a shore excursion, they will wait a certain amount of time before they leave to try and give you some leeway. But then at some point they're going to leave. But all that delay can compound into a few situations. Number one, they can now, if there's like 6 ships in port, they can now be put behind other ships instead of leaving when they were supposed to. Now they're behind 2, 3, 4 other ships, and that is a dock delay. It costs them a lot of time, and they have to pay more port fees because they're at that dock a longer period of time. Then, once you finally do set sail, in order to get to your next destination on time, the captain has to speed up, which of course costs more fuel, and also the cruise, because he's speeding up, can also be a lot rougher for the passengers, a lot more sway, a lot more movement. So yeah, annoying passenger number one thing, people who don't pay attention to what time you need to be back on the ship. Number 2, hygiene. And as you've all heard, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, this is a big one for me. First of all, the first thing you think of is people who don't wash their hands who come out of the bathroom. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. Or people who think that hand sanitizer is a replacement for washing your hands. It's not. Washing your hands is much better than the hand sanitizer. And the biggest complaint of all is people who touch food in the buffet with their bare hands when there's tongs sitting in front of every single food item when you're there. I have seen people, you know how they have bread, some style, a loaf of bread stacked out and it's cut into slices and it's from front to back. They will take their hands and they'll flip through 4 or 5 slices of bread, take 2 slices of bread out, push those slices back with their other hand and put it on their plate. I almost jump them right there in the line when I see something like that. I basically go up and I tell the attendant, while that person is there, can you please throw out all this bread because this person just touched it with their bare hands. I will shame them in the buffet because that is a pet peeve of mine. Don't touch food. There's tongs right there. It's not hard. It's a very simple tool. It's one of the most simple tools anyone can use in the world. So use them, and also that helps keep norovirus from spreading and happening and people getting sick. And it's just sanitary. It's clean. Don't touch my food. Can you tell? Can you tell that's a pet peeve of mine? Because it is. Another big one that people have who work on ships is people who not only don't listen during a muster drill, is that they make so much noise that other people can't hear the muster drill going on. And some cruise lines have gotten much stricter now. Well, they'll stop everything and they'll point those people out and ask them to please be quiet. And so muster drill is very important. And here's why. Okay, if something happens, you need to know where to go, right? If the worst case scenario happens, you need to go where you're supposed to be safe. And if you go to the wrong place, you're taking somebody else's spot. And so you don't want to be that person. You want to be organized and know exactly what to do. And you don't want to be wandering around lost on a cruise ship if it's going down. You want to know everything. And they did a survey once the same day the muster drill was happening. They put people into the theater who were there for the entertainment show and asked them them to fill out this sheet of paper with 2 or 3 questions on it. And one of the questions was, where is your mustard station? Only 20% of the people got that answer correct, or even answered it at all. 20%. Out of them, 10% of those, 10%, 50% of those 20%, their muster station was in the theater. So it's pretty easy to remember that one. So basically 10% of the people in the theater, say 1,000 people, only 10% knew where they were supposed to go in an emergency, could remember where they were supposed to go. So yeah, it's a little bit important. Pay attention during the muster drill, or at least be quiet during the muster drill so the other people who want to hear what's to do can hear. Number 4 is food in your stateroom cabin. Now, I'm a buffet person because I work usually when I'm on a cruise ship, so I'll forego going to the main dining most of the time, and I'll head up to the buffet. I'll bring some food down in my room. I'll eat it there while I'm working. No problem. I keep my plates all on the tray, keep it on my desk. In the morning, the stateroom attendant comes and gets it. Sounds easy, except stateroom attendants report that, especially on, if you're traveling with younger children or kids, or, they tend to find food in the most strange places. Underneath mattresses, they found hot dogs and hamburgers from kids hiding food that they didn't want to eat. Pizza wrapped up in sheets. Big, huge spills across the bed that people were eating on their bed and just spilt it, and things like that. That's one of those annoying things that people say, especially the stateroom attendants, they say they find some really strange places that you would think, why are they finding oranges behind the TV, that's on the wall? How in the heck did that happen? Another big one is acting like you wouldn't act at home. So if you're a person who on a Sunday afternoon may have 2 or 3 drinks to unwind on your day off at home, yet you go on a cruise ship and you have 15 to 20 drinks in the same amount of time, that's one of those things that they're saying. But another case that sounds kind of harmless is people who do the silliest things, like their internet, they don't know how to hook their internet up, their Wi-Fi in their stateroom. So they call the emergency number on the phone. They don't call, the internet cafe. They don't call guest services. They call the emergency medical number and say, I don't know how to hook up my internet. You wouldn't call 911 if your cable was out, or would you? Here, I say that, and here's a quick story. Here in Ontario, we have the emergency app for Amber Alert. If a child goes missing, there's an alarm on our phone. We look down, it explains the child where they're expected to be, and to keep an eye out for it, who to contact. You click OK, it disappears from your phone. That's the last you hear of it. Great. We had one just this week, and the 911 number had the majority of calls. Almost 85% of the calls who called in about the Amber Alert, a missing child, was to complain about the Amber Alert, waking them up on the phone. Now here's the good news. It actually worked. A lady was on the bus, saw the child, remembered the child. When she saw the Amber Alert, called 911. They found the child, returned the child to the parents, and the child is now back home safe and sound. So yeah, people do some strange things, don't they? How about this one for a thing? Dining is from 7:15 to 9 o'clock, and they show up at 8:55. 12 passengers, they want pasta, lobster, steak, soup, salad, desserts. It's 5 minutes from closing. This happens on every cruise multiple times, and it drives the wait staff and the maitre d's crazy. People think that you have any time to get there between 7:15 and say 9 o'clock, when in reality it's closing at 9 o'clock. So yeah, that's one of those things that drive them absolutely nuts. Let's say you're working in, say, Walmart, and you're in the automotive department, and somebody comes up to you and stands in front of you and says, yes, I was wondering what kind of eyeliner goes best with my skin tone. Well, that's kind of what they get on the cruise ships when somebody who wants to find out why there's a charge for this bottle of wine on their stateroom goes to the photo lab and starts talking to a photographer or somebody behind the desk selling photos. All the time. Well, there was a big line downstairs at guest services. So they go to the photo lab thinking that you have to go to where you want the question asked. You can't just ask random people. You might as well just go up to the bridge and ask the captain what's going on. I don't understand. I just don't understand when people do that. But it happens all the time, according to the cruise ship staff. What's really annoying for them is a lot of these people in some of these departments who sell things actually get a little bit of a bonus as part of their salary if they sell a certain amount or certain items. And if you go up and spend 10-15 minutes trying to ask questions that they have no way to ask you, that's 10-15 minutes that they can't be doing their job to try and earn a living. And so that's when people were asked who work in the different departments, if you were selling, that was one of the big things that people thought. People asking questions that have nothing to do with where you work. So there you go. That's what cruise ship employees, if you notice, a lot of it was about food, either coming in late for dining, not being hygienic in the buffet, just things like that. Leaving food all over the place and in weird places in your stateroom. So yeah, maybe that's something we should all keep an eye on when we're on a cruise. But I'm sure you're all perfect, because I'm perfect, right? We don't do any of that stuff. At least we try not to. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.